We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani, and you are joining me this morning for the Couples Academy Show live broadcast. And we're happy to have so many of you here. And what we're going to do is we're going to get into this conversation. We've been talking about how to survive a D- marriage, and we want to take this relationship to the next level. So today we're talking about how do you reconnect when you're in an unhealthy relationship. These are the things that people are looking for. These are the answers that people want. And you're here this morning to get those answers. But listen, before we get started, we want to let you know that it is time to what? To like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe, okay? All you need to do is share this with your community so that the world can benefit from what you benefit from every single morning, because not only do they hear from us, they hear from you. Let me tell you something. I was with a couple last night and we were in a session, and they said, one of the things that we love about your show is that you don't hog the pulpit. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? Well, you allow your visitors or your viewers or your listeners to engage in the conversation. When they have suggestions on what should be talked about, you actually allow them to tell you what topics they want discussed, and you hit it head on. And so it's not a redundant show. There's information for everyone depending upon their relational season and state in life. And that's what we're committed to, giving you what you need. And so listen, Danielle's not with us today. Prayerfully she'll be back tomorrow, but you got me. Hopefully I'm good enough. But listen, we want to know where you're calling in from. So make sure you post your city, your state, your country. We want to acknowledge you. We want to recognize you. Listen, guys, we've been talking about these retreats we've been having, right? And we told you we got 2 more left before the end of the year. And once those are done, that's it. It's a wrap. We are ending that phase because that's not really our thing, right? Our thing is really private marriage intensives. And so many of you have been calling and have been requesting and trying to get more information. And on the website, there's an entire page that's dedicated to everything you need to know about the private marriage intensive. One of the questions that people often ask is, well, where do we stay? What are the accommodations? And so what I wanted to do is share with you, this is on the website, this is on the YouTube channel, but I wanted to share with you and take you through a virtual tour of our retreat center. It's called the Eden House. Now, that name is significant, because marriage is God's first institution, the first institution he ever established on this earth. And everything started in the garden. The garden of what? The Garden of Eden. So we have our own Garden of Eden, and we have our own Eden House. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to take your marriage from where it currently is back to its original state that God intended. And that's why everything we do is so purposeful. It's not just about saving your marriage. It's a low-level goal to just save your marriage, because there's so many people who are in a saved marriage, but they're still miserable. They still fuss and fight. They cuss, they scream, they yell. They're emotionally disconnected. They're not happy. We want you to experience fulfillment within that marriage. And so if you think about Adam and Eve before the fall, right? And even though you've fallen in your relationship, as many of us have, you can get back up. You can have a restored, renewed relationship that you can be proud of. We're talking about kingdom marriage, folks. And so you got to come to the Eden House to get back on track. So take a look at this quick video virtual tour, and we'll come back and get started with today's show. That's right. That is the Eden House. This is where couples come to get away, to relax. This is where they come away in order to get away from all the distractions, to have uninterrupted, focused time to begin to reconnect and restore their relationship. That's what this is all about. And when we're together for 10, 12 plus hours a day doing deep dive work, couples find a lot of healing in that process. And so if you're considering an intensive, listen, go to our website, couplesacademy.org, sign up for a free discovery call. We get booked up quickly. They really go really fast. And so we want to make sure that you're in that number. And so listen, guys, we're going to jump right into today's topic. We're talking about how to reconnect in an unhealthy relationship. Now, many of you had an opportunity to rate your relationship on a scale of 1 to 10 or to give it a letter grade. Okay, so what do you do in the between time? We were talking about the importance of disconnecting, if you will, for the sake of protecting yourself from the consequences of your spouse. You're not ready to leave. You want to have, I don't know, a relationship that at least is civil. What do you do in the meantime as you're trying to rebuild? Well, we're going to go right into this. And listen, we talked about this yesterday. Many people stay together, number one reason, for the kids. So listen, if that's the case, make an effort to enjoy kids' events together. It's interesting. There's something called the windshield wiper marital pattern. Now think about windshield wipers on a car. You know, they are there to wipe away the snow, wipe away the rain so that you can clearly see and move forward. Now, when you first look at it, windshield wipers look as if they're in unison. They're working together, right? That's that couple. It seems like, man, they're that power couple. They know how to get things done. They make things happen. Man, they work well together. But they're very task oriented. They're very duty focused. Now think about windshield wipers. There's a distance between them, right? When one's trying to go in, the other one's backing up. When the other one's trying to go in, the other one's backing up. So there's an emotional disconnect, a physical space and gap between them. In fact, the only time that one windshield wiper touches the other is when it's broke. And guess what? Something's wrong. It needs to be fixed. Distance created again. This is the couple that always has something going on between them that creates the distance and the disconnect. And so the only time they come together is when it has something to do with the children, right? We would call that a child-centered relationship. You go from husband and wife and taking off that hat to putting on your mommy and daddy hat, and that's the only way that you function together in that relationship is when dealing with the children. And so if that's the case right now, while you're trying to rebuild, use that to your advantage and allow the children to be a reason to come together. Because when the children are there, obviously you're not going to be fussing and fighting. When the children are together, you're not going to be triggered or dealing with issues that can set either one of you off. It is a way to maintain peace in the household. And then when those children are together and you're doing events together, going out to dinner together, whatever you're doing together, at least you're getting subtle clues and reminders of the possibility of what you two can have once again in your relationship, because there's a level of civility that exists between you. Is that making sense? So make an effort to enjoy your kids' events or time spent with the kids. The next one would be have some meals together. I kind of mentioned that, but listen, I remember growing up watching the Cosby Show and watching other shows in the late 80s, the early 90s, where couples or families would actually sit down together to eat a meal. Remember those days? Now everybody's doing their own thing. They've eating their own meals. I don't like that. I don't like fish. I don't like meat. I'm a vegetarian. Like all this different stuff. So now you got to create different meals for different people. Everybody's on different schedules. Like what happened to the time where you would come down and have a meal with your family? Those days have seemed to be long gone. But being intentional to have a dinner time, to have a time where not only are you eating together, but you're engaging in conversation, checking in with each other, debriefing. It's a safe environment for you to connect with your partner in the presence of others in order to move the relationship up another notch. Guys, we're talking about how to reconnect in an unhealthy relationship. We got more tips, more techniques on the other side of this break. Be right back in just a second. You're watching the Couples Academy Show.
Couples Academy is expanding its team to meet the growing demand of people in need of help around the world. So if you're a trained, licensed, or certified expert in marriage enrichment, infidelity recovery, sex therapy, life coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy, divorce mediation, financial coaching, or family therapy, contact us today.
Folks, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy Show. Listen, before we jump back in to Torrey and Dee Dee and Rick Bennett and Kat, Vicky, Debbie, Bobby. Come on, cousin Bobby. Good to see you. Gorgeous Wells, JD, Charmaine, Gilbert, LaShawn, Stacy, Favor Ruth, JG, Angela, Boyce, Jody, Kat, LaShawn, Ken. I mean, I can go on and on and on. It's just good to see you guys. Glad that you all are tuned in. Yeah, Jody, you'll be seeing us on Saturday. Looking forward to the healing. Absolutely. We're going to be having a great time. Just trying to read through these comments. But listen, guys, we're glad that you're here. We're going to dive in deep. We're going to have something that is pivotal and transformational for your relationship. That's why you tune in every single day for this show. And we're going to jump right in. We're talking about, how to begin to reconnect in an unhealthy relationship. We were talking about having meals together. But listen, at the end of the day, it's so interesting. When you talk to different people, you talk to a man, you talk to a woman, sometimes we prioritize things in different orders. It's interesting when I'm talking to couples who are from different cultural groups, right? A lot of times biracial relationships don't have as many challenges as multicultural relationships. Isn't that interesting? Because you can be of a different race and have the same culture, but you could be of the same race and have two different cultures. That's interesting, right? So in some cultures, family is first. In other cultures, marriage is first. So it really depends, and so a lot of times people, whenever they do something with their spouse, they have to have the children with them. Like, are we taking the kids? Are we bringing the kids? What about the kids? And she's like, well, God, listen, of course we have kids. We do things with the kids, but we also need our private time as a couple. And there's got to be space and room and schedules for both of them because they're both extremely important. But what we have found is that oftentimes couples who are not in a good space, they will use the kids as a shield. They'll use the kids as an opportunity to keep the distance. Now, when you're in an unhealthy space and you are operating in self-protection, self-preservation, and you're completely disconnected, one way to get back in is to use the kids, not in a negative or manipulative way, but in a healthy way. right? And so one of the things that you can do is, as a family, think about it. We talk about the importance of having date nights, right? Where you and your partner come together and you rekindle. Well, you can do the same thing as a family. There should be a list of family activities that you bring all the kids around in a room with your spouse, and you're using it obviously for the family, but you're also using it to try to re-engage and reconnect with your partner. And so something as simple as, listen, watching a movie, whether you're going out to a movie together or whether you're taking that living room and putting pillows and sheets on the floor and you're creating a fort and you got your popcorn and you're together as a family. Sometimes being in your spouse's physical presence, we're not saying anything, but we're at least in the same room together, and it's not weird and awkward and uncomfortable and there's not a negative energy in the room. Sometimes that is the first logical step. That may be a tall order for some people because, I remember if you watched Danielle and I when we were in that Black Love documentary season 1, I remember she said, I used to hate his presence. Right? Just being in the same room with your partner sometimes could be the very thing that just really gets up under your skin. So as you're reintroducing yourself, as you're reconnecting with your partner, just being in the same space where their energy is normal is a major step, and I would encourage you to do that, okay? Now, next, another thing that you can begin to do is talk about safe, neutral topics. One of the biggest challenges that we find is that the only time we talk is when you keep bringing up the history. You keep bringing up what I did. You keep bringing up the situation. You won't let it go. Like, that's all we talk about. It consumes you. Can we talk about anything different? Can we talk about anything that's not triggering? Can we talk about anything that's not going to cause us to go left and now we're at each other's throats? We go from 0 to 100 real quick because every time we talk about that issue, we're reliving the pain of that past experience. And even though it happened 10 years ago, the more we talk about it and think about it, the more we feel the way we felt when we experienced it. And now that issue is present right here and right now. And I'm beginning to embody this same emotional state upon discovery. And so that's why it is not productive. It is actually counterproductive to continue to engage in these type of conversations. Can we just have a civil conversation? Can we just talk about something light? I don't know what's happening in the news. Can we talk about how, our team just won the championship? Can we talk about a TV show that's not triggering? Can we talk about the kids? Can we talk about anything? Can we just talk about something that is safe and neutral? Because when we do that and we stay in the safe zone, it lets us know that we're able to have a civil conversation. Wow. And if we've done it once, then guess what? Maybe we can do it again, right? And so what you're doing is you're developing your communication muscle by staying in light areas that serve as a reminder to you that guess what? We can do this. We can be civil. We can be normal. We can function in the same space. Maybe this thing can work. And when you take the time to do that, everything begins to shift in your relationship. We got one more. Make daily conversations pleasant and lighthearted. This really is an extension of that. But if you guys remember, some time ago, we were talking about the rituals of connection. And there are 4 particular rituals of connection. We have work as a ritual, play as a ritual, talk as a ritual, pray as a ritual. So it's work, play, talk, pray. So just zoning in on talk. It says that all of these rituals you should experience daily as well as weekly. So the weekly talk, the weekly conversation would be your work day, where you have said, we're going to, schedule this hour to connect and engage and have, maybe some courageous conversations that we normally wouldn't have if we were not, in a bad place. All right, so we're going to use that hour to talk through some things. But then there's the daily lighthearted connection that allows that weekly conversation to even be possible. Because if you're ignoring each other all week, if you're engaging in the silent treatment, if you're living life by distraction, you're going your own separate ways, you're not talking to each other, now you have to have an hour conversation. It's like going into the gym for the first time in 3 years and bench pressing 350 pounds. You don't have the ability, you don't have the capacity, you don't have the wherewithal, you don't have the skill set to be able to do it because you haven't practiced doing it. So practicing these conversations, these lighthearted conversations throughout the course of the day allows you to engage in something that's more purposeful, intentional, and substantive when you get to it at the end of the week. All right, is this helping, guys? Is this giving you what you want? We got one more segment. I want you to post your questions. I want to answer whatever questions that you have regarding how to reconnect with your partner. The last segment is all about you. We'll see you on the other side of this break. You're watching the Couples Academy Show. We're back. You're watching the Couple Academy Show. This is our third segment. We just have a few minutes, but there's some questions that are in that I want to take the time to engage in. So if you have a question, make sure you post it so that we can address it. This is from Fedalina Franco. Forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong. My husband doesn't communicate with me, which makes me feel so disconnected from him. I'm going to combine that with another statement that came in from Catherine Oliver. Can you reconnect? I'm sorry. No, that wasn't it. I'll get back to that in just a second. The question is going so fast, guys. So here we go. It's same thing. Okay, how do I talk when my spouse, in essence, stonewalls me? I think at the end of the day, it's what I said. It's about the nature of the conversation. A lot of times we want to go into something deep. We want to go into the past. A lot of times people don't like talking about the past because it's a reminder of what they've previously done. They have shame. They have guilt attached to it. That's the last thing they want to feel and experience. And so this is why we say, ease into the conversation. Talk about something light. Talk about something easy. There's 7 levels of intimacy or 7 levels of conversations. So when there's no conversation, the most shallow, the highest level is what we would call cliche conversations. It's small talk. It's pleasantries. If that's all that your relationship can withstand at this moment, then guess what? Do that. Get comfortable with that because it's easy. You can swim in that. You can get soaked and saturated, do backstrokes in that all day long. And stop trying to get in the left lane of the highway driving 100 miles an hour in a red Ferrari if your spouse is completely shut down. Get in the right lane. Go slow. Get comfortable, right? Allow your partner to get comfortable. When you do it in that regard, it makes it a whole lot easier to get into other type of conversations that may be more challenging, if that makes sense. All right, we got a couple more comments. Catherine, can you reconnect when in the process of divorce? Well, I guess I need more clarity on what you mean by that. All I do know is that a lot of times when people are in the process of divorce, they don't go through with it. We worked with several couples that literally filed papers and then came to an intensive because they were still looking for yet another opportunity to see if the relationship can be restored. So sometimes people file for divorce because they're desperate and they don't know what else to do. And some of them who do actually go through with it are really in a painful state because they're like, I can't believe this actually happened. It happened so fast. I thought it would be much longer than this. I thought it would be much harder than this. And before you know it, boom, we're divorced. And now they're living in regret and internal turmoil because, and some of them are coming back to see if it's possible to reconnect, to reestablish their marriage, to get remarried because it's not what they ultimately wanted. So if you have open communication with your spouse, and if there is something in you that desires something more in that relationship, then absolutely you can reconnect. That's why we exist. Because folks, it ain't over till it's over. I don't care what you have done. I don't care if you met with a divorce attorney and got advice. I don't care if you filed paperwork. I don't care if you're 2 weeks away. Listen, you could stop that thing moments before, depending upon your state. You can stop it. So it is never too late. It is never, ever, ever too late to reconnect and reestablish what you think that you've lost. All right, Miss Jules, what happens when your spouse only wasn't, when your spouse only wasn't to talk about the negative things and never the positive? Only wants to talk about the negative things and not the positive? Well, the reality is not all things are positive, not all things are negative. And listen, I think it's only fair that both of you have an opportunity to put in to conversation. So if you're going to deal with some of these harder, stickier issues, then we've got to be able to deal with some lighthearted things as well. I think there's balance. I think if every single time you're having a conversation with your spouse, it goes negative, then it's not serving either one of you. It's only making you feel more judged, more beat up, more put down, and it's only reigniting the rage, the fury, the frustration that spouse has. So it really doesn't serve at all. So the question is, we can talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, but the question is, what are we actually doing about it? Rick says, recent discovery of other affairs I had have reopened all the wounds of past affairs she knew about. It is so difficult for her to not talk about it. I feel I must let her get all of that out. Yeah, you do. You do. See, even though it may be old for you because it happened way back when, it's new for her. And sometimes, you know what? Not every conversation is going to be productive or effective. Some conversations, she just needs to vent because she's bottled up with all of this pain, all of these emotions, all of these thoughts, and she needs to release it. And there's some healthy ways that she can begin to release that pain, but then you are a major part of her healing. You have to sit there and bear it. You got to answer those questions. And you know what? The one thing that's frustrating is when spouses say, but I already answered that. And Joker, answer it again. Why? Because the first time you answered the question, I was in this state of mind. The second time you answered this question, I was feeling like that. And so I took a piece and a part and a component of every answer you gave, and now I'm in a different mental, emotional state, and I need to hear it again because I need to process it again, because that's the process that I'm going through. Or maybe I'm trying to see, well, were you honest? Is your story consistent? Are there cracks, right? And so for whatever reason, you find yourself answering the same question again and again and again. And that's what makes it a long-lasting, painstaking process. And this is why you need to go to someone to help navigate that conversation. Because truth be told, when an affair occurs, a lot of couples stay trapped in that discovery phase for not just days, not just weeks, not just months, but oftentimes for years to come. They can't get out of it. And so you get to a point where the conversations are no longer serving, and you got to go to somebody who can guide you through the conversation in a comprehensive way so you can close the chapter on it and move on. But until that time, yes, there's got to be a level of patience, there's got to be a level of understanding and empathy, and you've got to peel back those layers to get to the core essence of what it is so that they can have what it is that they need and they want. Last point, Stacy says, if the communication is okay, but there is a distance as living apart, can we still try to do date night? Yes. Listen, go on YouTube, search out the video we have on a controlled separation. A part of a controlled separation is taking time to date, is having your work day, because what you're trying to do is reconnect. You're not separated to end in divorce. You're separated to get yourself together, to come back together. So dating should be a part of it, but there are ground rules and techniques to making that happen. Guys, we appreciate you. Hope you got something out of today. We'll pick up these questions tomorrow. Love you all. Thanks for tuning in to the Couples Academy show. See you in the AM. Deuces.